Hello and welcome to my new guide for 20 minutes till dawn. I'm Icon and this video is filled with tips and tricks that'll make your life easier in this game. I have divided this video into 3 parts. The first one will be gameplay and build. So we're going to play along and I'm going to talk about things that really work for practically every character, every weapon, every situation. I'm going to talk through a couple of build options that really work for pretty much everybody and will carry you easily through the entire game. And in the second part, I'm going to talk about the different characters and the weapon, the synergies between these, which weapons work especially good with each other, which won't, and so on and so forth. A little bit of a characterization of stuff there. And the third part of the video is all about the runes and what you can do with them or what I think about them. So timestamps are in the description box below, so if a certain part is specifically interesting for you, you'll find it there. And one last warning. First off, this video is made during an early access version, so it might be that some of the tricks that I explain here might not be working anymore 6 months later. I'll be redoing this video though, as soon as stuff gets outdated. Feel free to comment below if this might be the case. And the other thing, last warning, spoilers ahead, if you like build experimentation and if you don't want to be nudged towards an optimal path or something I deem an optimal path, you should skip ahead to the second part because that's way less spoiler heavy than the first part. Okay, let's get started. So to prove my point, we're going to play with the revolver and with Shayna, jack of all trades, no real specific specialties, so let's get going. I'm going to play on Darkness 9 to make it a little bit flashy as well. And well, let's get started. So first things first. When you play this game, really try to max out your income of XP. The more income of XP you gain, the more powerful you will get, and as a matter of fact, it grows easier the more enemies you kill. Therefore, the first iron rule or basic tip that I can give you is, at the start of the game, focus your upgrades and your build towards killing stuff. You really want to pick up stuff that kills enemies as much as possible. Everything which is aimed towards utility, like Vitality skill or something like Rapid Fire here too. Let's say mix between, because attack speed does make you kill stuff faster, or Electromage. In this scenario, I would obviously pick up Electromage because Electromage is a skill which synergizes well with the revolver, but you shouldn't pick it if you have a weapon with a low clip size. That's one thing. Electromage is not a skill I would pick on every character. I'm going to go over a couple of skills that I'll pick for every character, because ironically enough, there are a couple of synergies between skills that basically work on every character, every weapon, and really is pretty good. Here we're picking up Electromage because we want to kill stuff faster, and the upgrades are nice with the revolver, so let's go. This is an immediate income increase, and well, as you see here, I'm always trying to stay as close to the enemy as possible. It's a bit of a risky move, but as soon as you have learned how this works, you can grab a lot of XP quite easy. Only works good with high damage weapons or high fire speed weapons, but once you get the hang of it, it's really good. So here's the first part for our build, Power Shot. You should pick that up on pretty much every character, mainly because of Splinter. Splinter makes enemies explode into bullets when they get killed, and these bullets apply all the on-hit effects your other upgrades provide as well. And this is a major mechanic that we're going to abuse with this build massively. Also, gotta say, Reaper Rounds has been useful for pretty much every build so far, because piercing is awesome, and it's basically infinite pierce if your weapon has a high projectile damage. Good stuff, but we're mainly after the Splinter, so let's pick the Power Shot up. And that's one thing that I can't emphasize enough. If Power Shot comes up, pick it up ASAP, because Splinter is basically one of the major skills that will make your life easier. The faster you can get it, the better. There's really almost no downside to that. Also, Pyromage. Pyromage is also one major thing that I pick up on pretty much every character. Not so much because it's so damn strong damage-wise, but because it provides this skill. Soothing Warmth is just outright awesome. This skill will provide you all the sustain for the entirety of the run you need. You get a chance to heal whenever you set an enemy on fire, and this build will set enemies on fire a lot. So let's pick that up. So this actually works with pretty much every weapon that I've tried out so far. The only weapon where I haven't proved this yet is the grenade launcher, but beyond that, Pyromage is actually viable, feasible, powerful for every character and every weapon that I have tried out so far. So, mainly because it makes your life so much easier when in the later stages of the game, you are allowed to heal yourself, because healing is insanely valuable. And here goes the next thing we absolutely must pick up, the Frost Mage. Frost Mage, in combination with Power Shot and Splinter, is already 66% of our damage output. So we're picking this up not because of this measly thing, we're picking this up because of Frostbite, which is outright insane, and I personally think this skill might get nerfed in the future because it is just so powerful, because it cuts the enemy's HP into by a quarter whenever you freeze them. And we get a 35% chance to inflict freeze whenever a bullet hits. Very, very synergistic with a Splinter. And to top this off, we also get Shatter. Frozen enemies get to explode, and they deal, again, 25% of their max HP as AoE. So there's one weird thing about this skill that has happened to me several times, and it seems to break the law of chance, but I rarely get Shatter unless I have picked up Ice Shard. I don't know why that's the case, maybe I've been just flat out unlucky, but I can't emphasize it enough. Pick up all the skills, because you want to have the Shatter as quick as possible, and picking up Ice Shard in between, I mean, pick up Frostbite first, and then Shatter if you're super lucky. But if you're not lucky, just pick up all the skills as quick as you can, because Shatter in its own is extremely, extremely valuable. Okay, enough about that. Let's keep going here. So, as you see here, now we are already at a somewhat decent kill speed. Lightning Mage is in one thing wonderful, and that's why I pick it up on a lot of characters. It provides extremely powerful early game damage, and the skills that you get reload your weapon basically for free, and it's absolutely awesome. So, let's see. Double Shot is also pretty nifty, but here we don't have anything we really, really need. These upgrades so far would be all depending on the weapon I'll be using right now. So here goes Splinter. So now we have now our enemies pop into bullets. That was a little bit clunky. And now all we need now to pick up are the ice magic upgrades, and then we have an insane clear speed. But you might already notice that we are already clearing the screen way faster than before. Oh, another honorable mention here goes over in the haste tree, over to Run and Gun. Run and Gun is awesome. Like, walk speed 100% means you get to walk faster while you're shooting. And so far, the crossbow has been the only weapon where I felt like Run and Gun wasn't worth picking it up, because clip size of 1. And every other weapon, I gotta say, Run and Gun makes the game feel so frickin' much easier. It's amazing. So, really, pick it up. It's really, really good. Okay, so beyond that, in the fire magic branch, I can really recommend you to also pick up Firestarter. Very powerful, very early game efficient. That's a lot of early game damage. Even if your weapon is not featuring the highest firing speed, those fireballs kick in quite hard. So, oh yeah, magnetism. Magnetism is it's very worth talking about. I pick this up every run, but only after I'm killing enemies with ease. Don't pick this up before your attack speed is at a point where you feel like, nah, I don't need more damage right now. then this stuff comes in handy because it lets you level faster. But don't make the mistake to pick this up too early. This will make you slower, and it does kill you a lot faster if you pick this up too early. So we're now, yeah, energized. Very cool for a very large clip size weapon. We're picking this up, but basically we only now need to pick up the remaining frost skills, and then we're already pretty much fit for the end game. Sounds stupid, but it's like that. You get bullets that cut the enemy's HP by 25%. Every dying enemy splits into 3 bullets that can do the same. Every dying enemy ultimately will explode for another percentile damage. You don't need to have a lot of real damage on your bullets anymore when the freeze damage does all the damage that you need. So that's why I personally don't think that this build will be existing forever anymore, because right now this is just a way too easy way to get rid of all of your problems. Here we got Shatter before Frostbite. Well, let's pick up Frostbite. Okay, I talked nonsense there, and it was just very, very unlucky. But I had the impression as if I picked up all the skills of one skill wheel, the chances of getting the last skill were higher, or, well, I had less trouble picking up all the skills of a skill wheel whenever I picked up all of the skills there. What's still true is if you really, really, really want a skill, don't shy away from buying something that you don't need that much, because it really makes the drop pool smaller and makes stuff a lot easier. And now we're at the point that I've been talking about. So now we got Shatter and all the other things. I need to move out of here a little bit. And now you really only want to have more bullets and reach more and more enemies. So bounciness, pierce, all these things now come in handy, and basically it doesn't matter anymore at this point what you're fighting against. At this point, just pick up whatever pleases you. Let's pick up Double Shot. I highly recommend you to pick up something which allows you to lower your reload rate, or whatever you need for your weapon to shine. But as a matter of fact, this fire and this ice combo, this ice power shot combo, I don't know, it is so stupidly strong right now that I haven't found anything breaking the efficiency of that. Especially Pierce grows in super powerful, because Pierce makes it happen that, you know, you get even more procs of that freeze out of one bullet. That means one bullet can not only cut an enemy's HP by 25%, but even 2 enemies HP by 25% if everything goes ideally. You get the idea. So I want to talk about the first boss now at the end of this video, because it's almost time, and I also want to show you guys how you can beat him quite easily, because for me the first boss was a pretty nasty problem, and well, if you don't have any issues with him, you can already skip to the next part of the video, because I'll be skipping over to the weapons part and the character part after the boss, because build-wise, after this, I don't want to talk too much about what you should bring or not bring, because I merely wanted to show you a build path that practically kills everything out there, and I haven't found so far any exception of this rule. This works out with every weapon, because even if you are playing the crossbow at some point, which is a very low projectile weapon, even then it'll ultimately kick butt because of all the upgrades that you can pick. Okay, now let's talk about that boss, and then we get over to the next part of the video. So this boss is pretty nasty because he features a very aggressive stance, and he'll be killing you quite quickly. Your area around you is bordered off, so you can't touch those borders or you'll get damage. What's really important with this dude is that you gotta learn when he's attacking. So he's always going into a hampering, yeah, and then he's dashing exactly into the direction. What's really important when you're fighting against this guy is don't do this. Always try to stand in a way that you can step sideward from him. So now we're waiting, and he's also giving you a sound signal whenever he does the dash. And whenever he's off screen, just keep moving until you see him again. And always move in a way that you can't just go in a 90 degree angle away from him. And what's extremely, extremely important is whenever you get surrounded by enemies, clear the enemies, kite away, ignore doing damage to this boss. That's the most dangerous thing that can happen to you, that you can get swarmed by these enemies and he gets a free dash on you. First the ads, first freedom from the ads, then wait until he has dashed, and fire away. So I'll show you here. So now we're waiting. Here we go. And now you can wail away. Now we're waiting again. And that's the situation I was talking about. You should avoid there. But all in all, this is the easiest part to do so. Yeah, you wait until he has done the dash, and you always go like in a 90-degree angle away from him when he starts to dash. Never try to dash into the same direction or run away into the same direction as this guy does, and you're golden. Takes a bit of practice. I needed a dozen or more attempts until I was pretty good with him, and I gotta admit, even if you have a good feeling to this boss, he will smack you in between because he's just well designed. Simple but effective design. Okay, so with that build and these little tips and tricks that I gave you, you should be easily able to beat something like Darkness 0 or Darkness 1 easily. And beyond that, I'm not going to feature too many synergies or the like, because most of them are not that impactful. The most important one, or the most powerful one that I want to feature here, Frostfire, is, well, you get that pretty much automatically from choosing fire and ice. And, well, that's good because when you have Soothing Warmth, it'll heal you more often. Okay, but enough about that. Let's get into the second part and talk about characters and guns. So, TLDR at the end of this, pick Ice, pick Power Shot, pick Splinter, pick Frostbite, pick Shatter, and that's like 90% of the equation already done. Okay, now, part 2 of this video. So, characters, we have here these for, well, there are so many different ways to play these. I want to feature what the specialties of each character are, and then we're going to talk about what works well with them. So, Shayna, as I introduced already, is pretty much a jack of all trades. Her upgrades are very, very variable. She has that reroll. She gets skills out of the chest that you can use very, very specifically. And I gotta say, she can feature the most unique builds of every character because she can get one upgrade which triples the effect of your next level up. That means you can do pretty crazy things that only apply to Shayna, and pretty unique character, but also very generalistic. You can pick up pretty much every weapon for her that you want. Pretty much everything works for her. And as you see here, I haven't had any victory with her yet because I end up experimenting. So Diamond features a lot of HP, and all of her skills synergize with the usage of HP. So those chest skills that you can get from the elite enemies will make her more powerful when she takes damage or when she heals. That means with Diamond, you want to have fire damage for healing, and you can also pick up the Vitality tree, which allows you to regenerate every 90 seconds HP as well. And every build for a Diamond should include healing to some point, because that's when you can go absolutely bonkers. My favorite for Diamond was the shotgun, but I guess when you play your cards right with a healing mechanic on her, it's a lot of fun. Also, she features a lot of HP, so you can't do a lot of mistakes on her. Scarlet, the Fire Girl, well, every third shot you throw out a fire wave that burns enemies. So, this character is extremely good at setting things on fire, and all in all, her upgrades increase burn damage even more. So, well, I don't think that there's any weapon that would top the flame cannon on her, but I gotta say, the SMGs are also a viable pick, but more about that when I talk about the weapons. With Scarlet, you want to go burn. All of her upgrades favor burn and elemental damage, so don't neglect that. She's pretty straightforward, though. There's really no complex stuff in her. She's way more straightforward than Shayna and Diamond are. So if you're looking for an easy and straightforward character to play, Scarlet is a really good character. Although Spark trumps her a little bit, but more about that in a sec. Let's talk Hina. Hina has a dash. That's not really talked about here in the description. I don't know why. Because she's not only summoning a shadow clone, she's dashing into a direction and leaving a shadow clone. So that's a pretty nifty thing on her. She leaves a summon that deals damage equal to her bullet damage. So all the weapons with a high damage on her shot are really powerful. Grenade launcher is pretty kick-ass on her. 45 damage clones rip things to pieces. And the interesting thing on Hina is her upgrades out of the elite enemies are focused into summons, mobility, and reload. That's pretty crazy. She's very she has pretty many different aspects, but summons work really well with her because she comes with a natural summon, and well, she comes with a skill that lets her reload her clip whenever she dashes. So weapons with a high clip size work really, really well on her as well. Now, Spark, the Lightning Girl. Your bullets have a 50% chance to call down lightning on impact. So, well, every weapon with a high bullet rate has a pretty good play on her. She's infamous for the usage of the dual SMGs, works extremely well with the revolver as well, but you can also even play the bat gun on her. Whatever you do, just implement lightning damage as much as possible, because all the upgrades, just like with Scarlet, are revolving around lightning damage. What's really worth mentioning, though, is lightning damage works extremely well with high clip size weapons, so yeah, dual SMGs are... Spark and dual SMG are, in my opinion, one of the easiest ways to finish the game. So if you're really struggling and you want to finally win that darn game, try Spark with dual SMGs and try the build path that I've explained in chapter 1, and you'll have a lot of fun, I promise you. So Lilith, when enemies are killed, she summons a homing missile that deals 8 damage. That homing missile is a summon, and therefore she's the top-notch user of Bat Gun. Bat Gun's bullets are both bullets and summons, so you'll get benefits from summon damage and bullet damage. Goes absolutely bonkers. Lilith's skills are all focused around summons, so building her is quite straightforward. Just pick up everything which is summons, and you'll in for a good time. Pretty jolly good character, very easy to play, very fulfilling because you get extremely powerful once you have the proper upgrades running. And, well, the only thing I didn't like about her so far was that she's filling the screen with extreme visual clutter, but I hope that the summons will be a little bit more visually optimized in future versions. Now, Abby. Good girl, Abby. Right-click to quickly shoot all of your remaining ammo in random directions. This character is so much fun. Basically, what this means is once you right-click, she turns into a tornado, and she fires randomly in all directions. This sounds strange at first, but there's one extreme upside to that. You keep your move speed while doing this, so you're not slowed down while shooting. So that means every weapon with high clip size works well on her. I did my playthrough with her on the dual SMGs, worked really, really good. Her upgrades are also increasing the bullet amount of all the weapons, so practically Abby is compatible with all the weapons that have a decent clip size. I wouldn't recommend her to be played with shotgun or crossbow, but I guess every other weapon should be a lot of fun. I haven't tried out nade launcher Abby yet. That's something I'm up to pretty soon as well. Okay, so that's been characters. Let's talk guns. So with the guns, well, the revolver is an awesome weapon. It works on every character. It is, like the name implies, a trusty balanced weapon, and you can play it on pretty much every character. And I love the high damage per bullet. You can really abuse that in your builds. Seriously, go for bullet damage and some decent fire rate and clip size, and you're in for a good time, because that thing has a pretty decent fire rate and it reloads quickly. It's really much easier to handle than it looks like once you have a grip on the game. The shotgun, I love the shotgun. Comes with a lot of bullets, comes with low damage, comes with close range, but you get a lot of reward. Shotgun, though, I gotta say, punishes you quite hard when you're not experienced with the game or your positioning, because the slowdown while shooting can give you quite hard. And, well, shotgun goes really well on diamond, but I gotta say, it is a very interesting weapon for a lot of guys. I enjoyed it most on diamond though, but I could imagine Shayna putting up some interesting stuff there as well. I wouldn't recommend it too much for any other character, but if you like challenges, go for it. The crossbow is an odd nut. I dislike the crossbow in general. I personally think it is a little bit underpowered. I haven't found any character that really synergizes super well with the crossbow. The only thing that's really awesome about it, in my opinion, was it features an extremely high knockback. Comes as a blessing and a curse as well, because you keep shoving bosses off the screen. So far, I really feel like this weapon is in for a rebalance. I don't know. Maybe I'm just dumb, but I beat the game with it and I didn't like it. I can't really recommend it, sadly. Flame cannon. Oh man, flame cannon is fun. You just automatically inflict burns. Do I need to say more? Super synergistic with every character. Well, Scarlet is super good for it, but all the other characters, well, you have a very low bullet damage, but, well, the build I showed you a moment before really shines regardless of the bullet damage, and you can have a lot of fun because you have tons of burning enemies. Dual SMGs, well, so far, in my humble opinion, the most powerful weapon that is so far available. Works well on every character. Just slap in Lightning Mage. Practically just go Lightning, Fire, Ice, and the Power Shot Splinter combo, and you rule the game. GG. Bat Gun. Strange weapon. I would only play it on characters that have a link to summons, namely Hina and Lilith. In every other character's hands, I tried to play it, it sucked. I don't know, I feel like this weapon is not optimized to work well with characters that are not linked with summons. Yet again, maybe I'm just dumb, didn't get it worked out yet. And the nade launcher, well, the nade launcher is a really complicated weapon. You can hurt yourself with those nade explosions, but you also have this insane damage. There's one thing that I have to say about the grenade launcher. Be careful with stuff like the Splinter upgrade or every other skill that fires bullets around you uncontrolled or anything, because those grenades linger on the ground and explode afterwards. You can easily lock yourself in to a carpet of grenades, and which restricts your movement. Very complicated yet fun weapon because it's it's challenging. Okay, let's talk runes. So for the runes, this will be pretty quickly explained. On the sword tree, I really can't decide whether to prefer power over alacrity. I think these two are really good. Don't fiddle around too much with mysticism. Yes, increases your chances of burn and freeze, but I made the experience you really don't notice it too much in the late game. This might be a good thing if your weapon features not enough bullets or projectiles, I should rather say, on the screen, but I felt like the other skills outshone that severely. On this rank, well, I love Elemental Barrage because I always play Freeze and Burn, and you gain fire rate and reload rate. But I gotta say, Aftershock is also pretty decent, but it also only works when you shoot your last ammo, so some weapons don't even synergize with that. I found Elemental Barrage with builds that I preferred to be a really golden middle ground. Wild Magic is what I run here, but I don't like it too much. I'd be personally preferring nowadays to be running Glass Cannon. I haven't tried out the gun glyph yet, so don't nail me down on that yet. But Glass Cannon, you start the game with your HP at half, but your bullet damage and fire rate is increased by a total of 25%. The builds that I showed you are easily capable of healing you up, and you get a free increase of 25% of damage and fire rate for the necessity of healing yourself up early on. I'd buy that every time. The Wild Magic only gives you a chance to spread, burn, or freeze when the enemy dies. Pretty nifty, gotta admit. Comes with no downsides, But on the other hand, this sounds extremely impactful. And Gunglyph, well, I gotta try that out, but I haven't had the points yet. So, with the last tree, I personally feel like Ethereal is the best thing to pick when you have nothing else first, because your gun will not consume ammo every 50 kills for 2 seconds per rank. Cadence is pretty nasty too. Every third shot, infinite piercing, double bullet size, and 100% more damage. This is massive for weapons like the crossbow and the like, but a very specialized skill. I'd be personally recommending your Ethereal because that's a pretty nice jack of all trades. Dedication works only if you have one summon. So, Shield Tree, I personally always vouch for Vigilance because for me, pickup range is king. But I gotta say, the other trees are pretty nifty too. Knockback after reload, well, some weapons don't even ever reload, so take that with care. But when your HP is at below or have gain fire rate and knockback per rank, that's pretty good too. Because eventually you will get hurt. And this is a bonus whenever you are in a clutch situation. I personally am a sucker for pickup range, so there's no second thought about that. Over here, well, I gotta say, Seismic Ward is something that I still have to try out, but Elemental Shield, after 50 freezes or burns, you grow up to 5 seconds invincible. That's just awesome. Saved my butt so many times. It's a no-brainer. It activates without you doing anything. I love it. But Momentum is pretty cool too. Move speed bursts, if you preferred that. I preferred this. On this tree here, I love Blessing, because Blessing comes with a free Holy Shield when you start out the game. Hooray, one free level up, and it lowers the cooldown of this thing too. Healing is pretty cool too, so every 1,000 enemies you can get a heal free. On average, on a good run, you kill about 10 to 15,000 enemies, so this can come in extremely handy too. I have a hard time deciding between these two, honestly. And Last Stand, I think, don't bother with it. Activates once per game when your HP drops to 1. I don't like that. Growth. I vouch for growth. This is so awesome. Gain more XP per rank. You gain 20% more XP. You get healed every 5th level. What's not to like about that? And the other 2 skills here activate also just once per game. And I hate skills that only activate once per game. I'm not down for that. Alright, so I hope you found that video helpful. Drop me your comments down below. Leave your own tips and tricks below this video because I think I surely haven't mentioned everything. I'd love to hear your opinions. Also feel free to leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video and subscribe if you haven't also done that already because there's daily content coming up from my side. Have a good time and see you soon. Bye-bye.